week with her and launch this once again. It's one of my all-time favorite gardening tools, and it's called a Nisaku. It is a Japanese weeding knife, and the difference is we put it on this wonderful long extended hardwood pole, and now you've got reach and you've got access with this thing so that you can get into, even to the deepest flower beds. It was first designed for the purpose that you see here, to be able to get in between grout lines, between bricks, cobblestones, and be able to get the things that grow all throughout the season. But it is just an incredible weeder, and it is the ultimate edging tool to get your gardens looking their best.
Right.
Nancy, welcome back.
Thanks for
How are
having
you?
me. I am thrilled to bring this tool because I love it. I use it in my garden. It is just one of those things that I grab, especially at the beginning of the season when the weeds are the things that come up before everything else, right? Yep. And then throughout the season, when you know you're battling those weeds and you don't want them to choke out your flowers, this is the tool that you want to use.
The whole blade itself is corrugated.
Yes, it is.
And it's done, is that stainless or is that aluminum?
This is a stainless steel blade.
Stainless, okay.
Exactly. And as you said, it's corrugated. You can hear my fingernail on it, but it's also beveled on the backside to be able to slice into the dirt. It's also angled, so it's very comfortable to use. And I love that you mentioned it's got this really long 4-foot handle, because then I can do all of my weeding from standing up.
And
and you can loosen up the soil too, you know, when you're getting ready to put your flowers in.
It's one of those things that you buy it once and you should have it for a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a precision Japanese gardening tool.
Yeah, exactly.
For weeding, the whole idea is to be able to get as low underneath that plant as possible so that you're cutting off the bottom portion of the root only and then popping it out.
Exactly, that's what I've done. And I've just shown you how I use that tip right here, that point, and I just put it into the ground. Those corrugated edges help it to get into the ground. Then you tip it backwards, and that's what's gonna pop out that weed right there. And you'll see I got the root too. That's really important because you don't want those weeds to come back, and you gotta get that root.
All right, forget about the flower beds.
Yeah.
Go to the left.
Okay, so here's what's really awesome too. How many times did you see your mom or your dad or even yourself going and trying to get the weeds out from between pavers? Screwdriver, butter knife, right? This is designed with a very narrow blade. You're seeing me be able to put it right between these pavers and bricks right here. But I can then go ahead and just go through. That corrugated edge is going to pop those weeds right out, and it's going to take care of them. You're not spraying, you're not getting down on your hands and knees. How about that moss that grows on top, okay? You're just gonna take it, and I'm gonna lay it down flat like this, but it's got that angle so I'm not having to lay myself down flat. And I'm just gonna scrape and get rid of that right off the top of your pavers.
Nancy, I've got more moss this winter than collectively than I've had probably in 10 years.
Right.
Because it was a little warmer this winter for us, and it was way wetter than normal.
Yeah, it's just such a great tool. You're going to be able to get rid of those weeds in those places that normally it's so hard to get rid of them. Either you're on your hands and knees trying to pull them, or if you just pull the top part off, guess what? You've left the roots in there, they're going to come back. If you have really stubborn weeds, you can kind of use with this hatcheting kind of motion.
Yeah, even pretty thick, stalky stuff.
Yeah, it'll get rid of that so that you can have those beautifully manicured lawns and beautifully manicured gardens. And actually in my yard, when I have my lawn, you see that crabgrass coming? I use this and I take the tip of it and I kind of put it right in the middle and I twist it around, and that kind of loosens it. Then I take it and I do that prying kind of motion, and I'm able to pop out that crabgrass too.
We started the process back in the fall and got part of the way through it. It just got too cold. We're gonna finish it up in the spring, but we're taking some acreage that we've never farmed on and clearing it out. And where we happen to live, there's this British scourge called multiflora rose.
Oh my goodness, sounds bad.
The British planted it around the time of the Revolutionary War, and it grows up like a hedgerow, but it's got thorns on it that if you even walk past it, I swear they jump out and bite you. And so I don't want to get anywhere near that stuff, but with this, I can get up underneath and start hacking away at that really tough, thick, branchy base, and it works out. For weeds, you just go in underneath and then pop it.
Right.
Because you want to get the feeder roots out too.
Exactly, exactly.
I really like mine. This is a fun tool to play with.
It's awesome. So how about like your flower bed and all of a sudden you see that clump of grass that's in there? That bugs me so much.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's your bane of existence.
It is. I just can't stand it. I'm like, the grass belongs out with the grass, not in with my flower beds. So same thing, I take that point, I just kind of push it down underneath, I lean it backwards, and then I can pop that grass out, roots and all. So now I get rid of it and my flower bed has flowers in it.
I will
get
say,
rid of those weeds too.
I've evolved a little bit. I used to be at war with dandelions.
Oh yeah?
And somebody reminded me, because I've been preaching about pollinators, that dandelions are one of the...
They're actually a good thing,
yes,
right?
They are.
Yes.
So I don't go after them anymore.
Right. Well, again, this is that really handy tool to be able to get in between the pavers. You know, we don't want to be spraying, especially if you have pets, you don't want to be spraying and, you know, using chemicals to get rid of these weeds. You want to be able to get rid of them at the source. You can also kind of scrape like this if you want to
That's
pop
the easiest
off.
way to do it.
Yeah, and especially over here, I have that kind of mildew and moss that grows, especially if you have like really moist area, lots of fog or something. You just scrape the top of it and it gets rid of it so that your pavers look beautiful and people are walking on it and it doesn't have that kind of mess around it. Really helps you get pristine gardens.
It's a cool tool. I want to break it down again so they see what they're getting. At a price tag, by the way, of a little less than $50, you're going to buy this one time. You shouldn't ever have to worry about replacing it. The blade is stainless steel, so you don't worry about it rusting. It's a corrugated, sharpened edge that you shouldn't ever have to worry about resharpening.
Right.
But the reason for using corrugation, you know, a cardboard box is a piece of brown paper and then the little loops back and forth, another piece of paper. Well, that's what this is. And what it does is it creates considerably more surface area in which to cut with. And then that front edge has been sharpened as well. It's not a razor blade, but it is like a knife.
Right, it's going to help you cut right through all of those weeds.
Look at that, getting around the cobblestones. And we do more hardscaping today than we've ever done in America.
Right, exactly.
I'm impressed by the blade. So there's the blade itself. And this particular unit, this is a couple years old. This one isn't brand new out of the box. They also took the time to tilt that blade. I'm holding the stick directly at the camera. The blade is at about a 45-degree angle. If you notice, I'll hold this. That gives you access when you're working. All you do, it is kind of designed for a right-handed person, I will say that.
Yeah, it is. I would.
For a lefty,
say that.
you're almost working upside down with it.
Right. You
But
can do it. I can do it like a left-handed person right here, and you just have to hold it and tip it again. But when you're using this to do the scraping to get rid of like the mildew and the moss, that angle really helps you so that you're not laying right down on the ground to do that. You're able to still stand up. The other thing that I love about this, Dan, is this handle is varnished. So that means you're not going to be getting splinters.
Right.
It's not going to be getting, you know, worn out and
You can
everything
always
like that.
tell when it's leaf raking season.
Yeah.
Because everybody has that one blister between their thumb and their index finger.
That's so true. That's so
everybody.
true. Yep, exactly, exactly. And remember how I was telling you about the kind of twirling motion? That's what I do right there when I'm trying to get rid of the crabgrass. That kind of loosens it, and then I'm able to go in there. And the nice thing is I'm not bending over. You know, I'm able to get rid of that by just kind of twisting and getting rid of that. And not having to bend over and pull it, which saves my back. And I know as I've gotten older, my back has not been very friendly to me.
Yes.
And so I really appreciate this tool, and I really do use this tool. If you see me in the garden, I'm using this and my hori knife.
And yeah.
And
I agree.
These are just awesome workhorse tools.
Something special about working kind of with the old-fashioned stuff.
Yes.
Every year, one of the first things that we do on our gardens, and our gardens are not lavish by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got some pretty large sized beds, and we always take a garden hose. Don't even hook it up. I'm not worried about running water, but I use the garden hose and the flexibility to lay right at the edge of where my garden might be, so that I can come back with this and I can edge to get, because it just seems it's crazy. You can do all the cleanup you ever want to do at the end of the fall. For some reason, early spring, you have to do it again.
I know.
When nothing's grown there.
It's so funny because these weeds, they're very opportunistic, so they're going to come up and you want to take care of them as soon as you see them. Otherwise, they take over your garden and your flowers are having to compete for the water, for the nutrients in the soil. So
that's
if you
the way
have
you
this,
use it right there.
If you have this on hand, you're going to be able to get rid of those weeds as soon as they start showing up. Take care of them when they're little, you know, just kind of like any kind of problem. Take care of it when it's little, and then that way you're going to be able to have those beautiful, pristine gardens. And the other thing I really appreciate is this isn't a power tool. It's something that I can store very easily. It doesn't take up a lot of room, and I'm able to get in there and really just enjoy my gardening and have something beautiful in my yard.
We've had 250 of you who have picked it up this morning and this afternoon. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this at all. It's kind of my go-to. Reach for it all the time. Nancy, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much. And I do want to remind people of our big deal of the day.